going. Welcome to another episode of the Property Nomads Podcast, and welcome to the 200th episode of the Property Nomads Podcast. Quite a nice milestone to reach, but I'm not going to sit here and sing our own praises for the last 200 episodes. It's been a great achievement to get to this many. I'm sure there's many more episodes to come. And we've got a bit of a nice bonanza episode today for yourself. We're joined by Daniel Duffield of KOVE Properties. KOVE Properties are a property company based up in the northeast of England. They specialise in portfolio building for clients up in the northeast, also run project management side of their business, the lettings business, also host the KOVE Property Meet as well. So a multifaceted approach to property. Daniel joins us today, and we're going to be talking about a whole plethora of things, useful tips for investors, getting ripped off by builders, project management skills. I'm sure we'll touch upon a wide range of subjects. Daniel, welcome to the 200th episode, and thank you for your time.
That was a great intro. Thanks. It's great to be a part of the 200th episode. It's a great testament. That's a lot of podcasts.
No pressure, by the way. no pressure on that. I didn't tell you that, of course. I only just told you that off air briefly before we came on. That's just how it's worked. So, it is what it is. But let's go into KOVE Properties then. Let's start at the top, because you're also an architect by trade too. So how did you, pardon the pun, how did you bridge that between architecture and getting involved in property?
So I've been in architecture for I think 13, 14 years before I went over to the dark side that is property. But it started really with, I was doing developers and property investors were coming to the practice that I worked at. And, they were wanting title splits, they wanted to maximize their developments, even property renovations, where they're like, how can I maximize, and get the most out of this property and add the most value for the least cost kind of thing. And, value engineer, where you get a high-end return, a high-end property returning, but without spending loads of cash and wasting money on certain areas. So that was the challenge of an architect, and looking at materials and design and functionality of space and stuff like that. And that was my job, so I had lots of developer friends, I had lots of investor friends from that. It was interesting because for me, seeing the developers and investors and their projects, I knew that I needed to be over to that side, because there's actually more creativity there. The strategy, how you leverage certain things. You're in control of that property. You don't work for a client, so to speak. You are the client when it's your property. So that really interests me, and it's kind of I love being creative, and that was kind of something that I thought, this is where I need to be, and do my own stuff, or at least run something where I can do my own thing and be free. So that's what kind of spurred me on to look into that as an avenue. And then I was part of lots of Facebook groups, property groups, and a guy who's now my business partner posted in one of these groups saying that I'm looking to invest in the Northeast, and I'm just looking for some advice on what the best areas are to invest. So I commented and just said, I've lived here a few years now. I'm happy to give you my input on where I would invest. And I was currently saving up for a HMO myself at the time. So we met up for a pint, and it basically started to meet up a couple of times after that and build a relationship. And he was kind of like, look, do you want to find me a property and I'll give you a fee? And at the time, I didn't expect anything from it. I was just giving advice and kind of building my network and just trying to be of value to people, in that, because that's how it kind of works. You help people out in the property world. It's there's a lovely community there that you don't really get in any other industry. It's really weird. But so the kind of organic relationship built from there. And then I was going to essentially find him a property, and then it kind of further organically grew into a relationship where it was like, we knew we had skills. He knew that Jez, my business partner, knew that I had skills in architecture, but also I was quite good with people. So my sales, I think I was quite good at sales and marketing. And Jez is very analytical, very rational, very organized, very structured. And that's an element that I don't have. And I think we just saw the merit in each other and was just like, should we give this a go? We did, and it was hard, and we were working full time. And then furlough hit, and that was like essentially our chance to shine. Because like any business, it needs time, and if you don't have time, it's difficult. When furlough hit, we had the time, so we ran with it and just went for it. And then, yeah, I think 6 months after that, I left my job. So did Jez. So yeah, that's how it started initially, which is quite a random story, really. But
don't worry about the randomness of it. I think when you speak to, well, as you know from the networking and everything like that, when you speak to different people, everyone seems to have different background, different story, how this happened, how that happened. I think there's a beauty in that, because not every story is the same, even if the destination, for more or less, the destination of everyone in property is pretty much the same. It's either you're doing it for long-term wealth accumulation, asset accumulation, to get out of a job, as it's quite common as well. So, and then using the lockdowns and everything that we've had and we've been faced with to maximize the potential. I just hats off, got to say kudos to that. Must feel really good to be in that position, be in that situation.
Definitely. And it's one of those things that, and this is something that I've realized over time, and I stand by now, just give as much value as you can. Like, there's been lots of times where I've given hours and hours and hours of my time and got nothing from it, and I wouldn't expect something from it. But just by having the mentality and ethos of just help everyone and anyone you can, and give as much value, and be the most, the person that that people depend on, be that person, and things will start to change, things start to happen. If I had met up with Jez and just given him my advice, or thought, well, I'm not going to get anything out of this, I'm not going to bother even messaging him, I probably would still be in work right now. It's just insane. So, and that's something that we do now, and even in the business. I mean, I helped a landlord, must have been about a year ago. He wanted a property he wanted X amount for his property. We couldn't give him that, but he was like, I've got a new build site around the corner, and I've got a piece of land that I want to build some new builds on. Would you come and have a look? So I came and have a look. It looked decent in terms of access and overlooking and stuff within the site. So I connected them with an architect, connected them with a planning consultant, and just basically helped him. Didn't expect anything of it again, and just helped him and facilitated that person with all the power team that they need. And we recently got a call saying, he's a portfolio landlord, he's looking to offload his portfolio now, and we've suddenly now got quite a few properties to look at through that client that we helped a year ago, and I didn't expect anything from it. And it's the same thing. There's lots of things that some of the biggest opportunities actually that have ever happened to me have been because of that. So it's such a great way to live your life, I think, with that kind of mentality and ethos.
100%. That's a top tip for everyone, or everyone, should we say, listening and watching this. Of course, it is add as much value as you can, try and be as helpful as you can, where you can, with who you can, because as you say, if you go in with that's a law of reciprocity, and I'm speaking to Derek Harden about this, last week's episode, it's law of reciprocity. It's if you go in and you always want to try and create that win-win situation, but sometimes it's always good to go in with no expectations from the other person, because you never know what's going to happen. 9 times out of 10, something might not happen from it. Yeah, fine, hands up. That is what it is. But it's when you get the chance, like you said, and I assume you might look through this landlord's portfolio. There might be nothing that you can do at all. but there might be something you can do, and of course that's going to lead to a lot of business, even better reputation, X, Y, and Z. So do what you can where you can.
Absolutely, and it doesn't cost much to help people, really. I mean, that particular landlord, we sat in he's 72, by the way, so he's offloading now to kind of, as his retirement, he's just offloading a few a year now. But I was sat in his house with him and his wife, just had about 5 cups of tea, just chatting about his life and stuff like that, and it's great. And I think as well, like if you have that positive frame of mind and you're a good person to be around, people of that age especially, or people that have made all their money or whatever, they want to be around the right people. It's different sort of mindset when you get to that age. So it's nice for him to contact us and want us to help him there. So it was a good call.
Of course it would be. It could lead to some great things. And it's also fair to say that, well, I say that and I've completely forgotten what I was just about to say. That's the podcast curse, I think, coming into play. That was it. People will work with you because they like you. So if you've got that, as you say, that vibrancy about you, that outgoing nature, or even if you're not a ridiculously outgoing person, I'll hold my hands up at that. I'm not the best people person in the world. I'm getting better. I'm not the best, but as you say, add value. If you're fun to be around, then chances are, it's going to come back and benefit you at some point in the future.
Absolutely, definitely.
We spoke off record, didn't we, about issues with builders and project managing and stuff like that. And you said you got quite an interesting story to tell, and about being done over for a bit of cash, basically. I'm sure people listening, they love a good story, especially when it's not of a positive one. So by all means, the floor's all yours. Do share as much details and then lessons that you've learned from that as well to help the listeners.
Yeah, so probably one of our biggest mistakes when we first started was a friend who recommended a builder, but a friend who he didn't have any property experience. Probably someone's aunt's, uncle's, dog's cousin that they'd probably done some work for. We didn't do any research. We didn't even visit, any of his previous work or anything. We just naively, as you do when you don't have a process in place and you don't have the right people around you to tell you what to do, you make mistakes. And we essentially took on this builder that seemed like he was, very had the moral standpoint, and he was good at what he does. But it turned out after about a month in, we started to see like red flags, just in terms of communication. Some work wasn't done to the best standard. He was getting a bit lazy. Just after he got one of his installments, after his second installment, he basically, first thing was there was some damp work that needed doing, and we had a specialist guy come and have a look at the property, and essentially he was going to come at a set date, and the builder said that he was going to meet him there and go around with him and get the work done. And I think what happened was he essentially, he didn't contact and didn't organize the damp specialist to come around for the second time to actually do the work. He did it himself and pocketed the money. And when I say he did it himself, he didn't even put in a member in it. It just plastered over like a wet wall. And when I came, I could just tell it hadn't been done, because the plaster was still wet for like 2 weeks. So I was like, right, we need to chip a bit off and check. And it hadn't been done, so we had to just literally start again, which was a nightmare. And what else happened? Loads of stuff happened. He basically got his installments on 3 jobs and then just did a runner. One of the biggest eye-openers, because it was like our first project. First one was our own. and the other two were clients. So it was a tough, really tough time. What we did was we got someone else in to obviously fix the work. We had to just own up, and this is one thing, in property, you can't, and builders do this, they'll sugarcoat everything, or lie, or they'll own up to their mistakes. And we owned up and just said, look, this has happened. We haven't vetted. We haven't done this and this. We are going to pay for the work ourselves to obviously be rectified, which is the right thing to do. But obviously that ended up costing us about 12 grand in total, which just didn't set us off on the right foot. Obviously, was really knocked our confidence. But one thing that was learned from it is, those clients are still clients today. One in particular said to me not so long ago, the way that we dealt with that situation and we owned up to it, we didn't shy away from it, and we dealt with it head on, was, a real testament to our character. And she said that I knew from then on, you got my back, and you wouldn't run away if anything went tits up, essentially. And that was really nice to hear. It was a couple of years ago now, so, we were inexperienced, and we learned the hard way, but it definitely set us up in the right way, because what it did was it made us realize this is a cruel world we're living in. You've got to have the right systems, processes, experience, people around you, and the right employed team as well. There's a lot of professionals in the property sphere, and you lean on these people for advice and to deliver those projects. If you lean on the wrong type of people, you're going to be burned, and it's going to be really detrimental to your profits and to your reputation. So it did end up being a good story in the end. I mean, it cost us a little bit, but it was an expensive lesson that completely changed our outset. And actually, I think it gave us those foundations to actually really set up the business properly. We're now very, very thorough. I mean, we've actually still got the same builder that we used who rectified that work. We still got him today. We've actually got 2 build teams now. And, we've done probably, in the treble digits of projects now, in terms of transactions. And I think it's all about having the right research and doing your due diligence on the front end, visiting their work, making sure that their quality is right, speaking to their clients that they've got in the past. I mean, most clients that we speak to now in terms of like investors, that I always ask them, what's your reservations? And they're like, trust, or I've had a bad experience. So we always put forward clients that have used us, the full service, to them, so that they can speak to them and understand, what we do and what their experiences are of us. And I think that's a really good thing to do for any professional, in any area of property. Speaking to previous clients is a good one. And also, having the right teams in place, either having the right capacity to check the work yourself and keep on top of builders, because you can have a good builder, but they can lose focus and they can lose quality. It can, it can definitely start to dip, so to speak. And I think you've just got to be constantly on top of them. And a lot of builders are, might be good at doing the job, but they might not be as organized as you could be. So, that's why essentially we do the project management service, because if you're living in London and you're investing in the Northeast, it's probably not feasible just driving down once a month. Things are going to slip, problems are going to happen. And builders, they do exaggerate or lie, or, say something's been done and it's not being done. Standard. So I think it really did set me up. Set me and Jez up, and it made us come together as business partners. We didn't probably know each other that long then. We'd probably only known each other a few months, to be honest. So it was a real test, but it's honestly, I feel like it's just set us up. I'm not fazed by anything now after that. And that was like the first thing that happened. So I almost feel ironclad now from that experience.
I'm going to play devil's advocate, and I'm going to sort of preempt the answer that's in my head. I'm going to play devil's advocate. When, just pardon my French, when that shit happened at the start, obviously not ideal, not great, not a good start. Was there at any point you and Jez would have sat down and I'm not trying to say that you wouldn't have told the client what was happening, but was there at any point you just had this element of doubt in your mind when if we tell this client X, Y, and Z, that could be the end of us, that could be the end of reputation before we even started? Was that little element of doubt there?
100%. I thought that was it. I was like, business is over. And in fact, and that's another thing that, you play images in your head of what something's going to be like, and it's never as bad as you think, and at the end of the day, look, problems are always going to happen. That was a cause from naivety and inexperience, lots of different things, being unlucky as well. And yeah, I think obviously now it's a different ball game. There's 15 of us in the business. We've got 2 build teams. I think we've got like 17 refurbs on the go at one time, so it's different now. But you are going to go through. No one go if and this is why I never see on podcasts, on social media, people saying stuff like this, and I don't know why. Everyone's like, there's a lot of positivity, and that's great, but the biggest learnings are when you mess up, and everyone messes up. And I think you will go through throughout your life, every property investor will go through a oh crap moment where they're like, I've messed up here, or something's happened here, and it tests you and it makes you really get out your comfort zone. But those moments are what define you. And if you're doing it for a client, or you've got an investor that's lending you money and you're lying to them and you're not doing things the right way and you're not owning up to your mistakes, then you aren't going to survive. But if you have that mindset of going, I'm going to do the right thing, and I'm going to get out, I'm going to get through this, and I'm going to learn from it, and it's going to build me into a better person, you won't feel so scared to move forward, and that's why I think we've grown so quickly in a short amount of time, because we had a hurdle, and the first hurdle was like the biggest hurdle you can imagine, and then everything after that was just small, and it gave us the confidence to go, we can do this, we can, and it gave us the confidence to know what we need to do to mitigate risk, and not have an experience like that happen again, which it hasn't, and I'm not saying we won't get challenges, but it's definitely made us prioritize that, and I just think like, that comment from a client about, us showing who we really are and stuff, it sat really well with me. And I didn't even know at the time that client would stay with us. But it's, and it was one of those things that we didn't do for that reason. We just did it because we knew it was the right thing to do, and it was our reputation on the line. So, and at the time I thought it was so like a million times worse. I mean, I never thought I would be speaking about it on a podcast. You know what I mean? Because, I just didn't. I just thought this was the, keep this quiet and bury this under the rug kind of thing. But definitely not. I think we all should be sharing our experiences of our bad experiences, and we all should be sharing our biggest learnings. What did you take from that? What could you have done differently, and what could be improved? And by doing that is, giving everyone that gift so that they can avoid that happening, right? And I just don't see that enough on social media,
Completely agree, 100%. Hands up again. Totally agree with sort of every sentiment there, Daniel. Purely because, not sort of let's just sort of dissect this bit by bit. Number one, yes, definitely the right thing to do. What you've done, how you acted with the client. We've had not similar major issues with builders as such. We've had a few things with like, down valuations and stuff like that. And you just have to, our approach has been the same. You tackle it head on with the investor, the client. Yeah, look, this has happened. This is the research we've done. We've followed everything that we would have meant to have followed. pretty much a case of, as valuers sometimes do, they either have an, I say, off day, and I'm doing my bunny ears for podcast listeners, off day, i.e. they're in a bad mood. So you might get a down valuation, and you just tackle it head on with the clients. Now, I've not had a couple of awkward conversations with people, but not, I say awkward, a couple of conversations where, as you quite rightly say, you're playing things in your mind. Oh, they're going to say this, they're going to do, you're then assuming, which is no bueno, not good at all. And it turns out that once you've explained something properly and you effectively say, look, it's hard, it's a bit out of our hands. Of course, in your case, it, again, hands up, it wasn't. You find that people will actually react better to that because you're just being completely truthful. And reputation in property is absolutely everything, a personal reputation as well. Then the second part of what you're saying there about people sharing stories and a lot of positive stuff, I can see both sides completely, because Instagram, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, you name it, whatever it might be. Yeah, if you got that positive vibe, and you got this is going on, and this is my latest deal, and that's going on, and woohoo, happy days, rah 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 rah. That's always good because people love to see that stuff. But we all do. We're all a bit junky like that. But you do have a valid point that people are. It's not narcissistic. That's not the word. Sadistic is the right word. People are quite sadistic. So if someone's failed, it may be a British thing, I don't know, but if someone's failed, there's nothing more than sitting back going, hey, sucker, that person cocked up doing X, Y, and Z. It's a bit sadistic, but at the same time, you take a hell of a lot from that, and it's better to share those stories of this is what happened, this is what went wrong, this is things that we didn't quite do properly, but then again, flip side again, take that forward, and you go, right, well, this is what we learned from it. This is what we're not going to do next time, etc., etc. Really, that's a long-winded way of me saying, if you could summarize the couple of key lessons that you learned from that experience for people listening, what would those key experiences be?
Good question. First thing would be, do your due diligence. As much as it is boring, it's not fun to do, but it's so crucial. Have a process and thoroughly vet every single person. It doesn't matter if it's mortgage broker, you need to have a process of doing some background research. What is their service like? Because you're just going to go down a rabbit hole of being disappointed by them and by doing that 10, 20, half an hour of time just to double check and check the reviews and speak to some of their previous clients. I would say that's absolutely crucial. The second would be surround yourself with people who are 1, 3, 5, 10 years ahead, and ask them. Don't be afraid to ask people. I mean, we've got a WhatsApp group. We've got a monthly property meets online at the moment. It's going back into physical form, but and I could have and should have probably asked my network. I've got lots of people that are absolutely killing it in property, even before I started on social media. And all I would have had to do is ask them, and they probably would have told me not to be an idiot and do what we did. So that would be my second point. And third would be, if you mess up, or if anything does happen, always see what you can take away from it. And again, back to the value thing at the beginning, give value to others. Don't keep it to yourself, because of that kind of competitive mentality of, I don't want anyone else to succeed, I'm not going to give anyone any value. That it will only hinder you in your life. And that's what I was saying at the beginning. Actually, I didn't mean to link these, but at the beginning I was talking about giving value, and it will just open up so many doors. And that's true. If you do mess up, be honest. And like, some of the best posts that I've ever done are when I've been really open and honest, and it's hurt to even tell these stories. And people have really appreciated it and gone, thank you so much for that. I've got a builder coming up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I never thought of doing this or doing that, and they really appreciate it. So as long as that I'm giving value, I'm happy with that, and I'll continue to do that. And that also links to, if you do mess up, own it. Don't shy away from it. Don't, if there's a difficult conversation you don't want to have, have it. Just swallow it and have it and do it. And yeah, just you've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable in that situation, because it's only going to it'll benefit you in the long run. So that's my 3.
The top stuff, great summary. And every day is a chance to get better.
Yeah.
As well with whatever we're doing. Moving on to project management aspects, again, sort of tapping into your architectural background here. When I'm speaking to people, or having a browse around social media, to me it seems that if people are undertaking slightly larger projects, then that's great, happy days. But if they're then trying to project manage that themselves, I'm not talking about like ridiculously large commercial conversions. Maybe it's a HMO conversion, or you're converting a house into 2 flats, 3 flats, something like that. Something that's quite, I say basic, I mean that in the best possible sense. But these people then seem to get quite stressed about the level of project management or builders contracts, stuff like that. What advice would you give those people from, again, tapping into your architectural background? How do you successfully manage multiple projects at the same time, or just one project? How did you successfully do that?
So advice for someone that's maybe working full time, or you mean, yeah,
spot
on. Just lean on professionals, and that's, I mean that from in terms of everyone's specialized in different things. If you're looking at converting a property into something else, you need an architect. If you're looking for structural calculations, you go to an engineer. And it's the same thing. I wouldn't try and do something that you're not trained in, or that you're not specialized in. I can tell you now that project management is complex, and there's a lot of moving elements to it. We've got 2 full-time project managers across the 17 projects we've got going on, and they're pretty simple. Most of them are buy-to-lets, simple stuff. I think we've got a title split in there as well, and they're absolutely full-time at capacity. They're so busy, and I just think that that's where mistakes happen, when people try and cut corners and take responsibilities into their own hands that they're not trained for. I'll take over this project. We'll just put a corridor in here, we'll put a bedroom here, and then they don't tell building control, and then they don't sign it off, and then building control go, no, put it back, because it's not up to building regs. And then the client's like, oh, I didn't realize I had to do that. And that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. It's like, you need to understand the thorough processes, regulations, legislation. It's the same thing for a letting agent. You might think, I can manage these properties myself, but there's a lot that goes into it that you need to understand and know about, and you can't cut corners, because it's a finable offence. So I would just say lean on professionals, and you'll find that actually, like it's like some of these properties that we've got. I could clean the properties myself, but I probably wouldn't do a good enough job. It'll probably take me a lot longer, and it's the same thing. It's probably better use of your time to leverage those that can do it quicker and better and with no mistakes than you do it. You try and take stuff into your own hands, possibly add risk, and risk equals cost. But also it'll probably take you longer to do it. So I would say just lean on professionals. And also another thing, and this is the way I now think running a business, and it's something that I've learned from quite a few books, but I think what you need to do is you need to think about what's the best use of my time. What's the most high level thing I can be doing? Is it, going on viewings, or is it project managing this buy to let, or is it focusing on where I need to be, my goals? For example, if you want to get 10 properties in 5 years, how are you going to get that 10 properties in 5 years? If you've only got 100 grand in the bank, what are you going to do? Are you going to raise investor finance? Are you going to, what's your kind of strategy? Focus on that. Focus on the bigger, higher level stuff that's going to get you from A to B, and quit your job or work less hours to spend more time with your kids, rather than try and do everything yourself. And by doing everything, you're doing nothing, and probably counterproductive, because you probably end up costing more if you make mistakes. So that's what I would say. just lean on the professionals.
You were segue into the time versus money paradox there, because I wrote about this in my book, Buy to Let: How to Get Started, because it's one of those things where you do have to lean on professional. Now, as you pointed out, that could be your cleaners, that could be your project managers, other people involved, lettings agents, all of that sort of stuff. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because this would have been my thought process 5-6 years ago, and maybe you can resonate with this. But when you get started and do these things, and you're learning from mentors, or you're reading books or listen to podcasts as we do, you then think, well, yeah, but hang on a minute. But then if I go and, for example, clean this house, I'm going to say, this is a thing. I'm going to save X amount of pounds. But then people are not looking at the opportunity cost of that, where you could be out doing your other, as our mentor would say, IGTs, income generating tasks. Would you say that's a fair thing, that you had that exact mentality a few years ago and you've adapted and changed that as a result of an open mindset and learning from books and other materials?
Oh, absolutely. I remember, at least it's so funny. I remember when I was scraping Rightmove, finding properties on Rightmove. And I remember when it was just me and Jez, I remember saying to Jez, Jez was like, we should hire someone to do the lower income tasks like this. And I was like, no one can do it as good as me. I'm the only guy that can do it. Honestly, I'm just embarrassed thinking back to that. And I was like, look, I've got unique my architectural skills, I know to, and then all these kind of things, telling Jez that it's just not going to work. We hired someone and they're so much better than me. It's embarrassing. So it just shows, we've trained them, I've given them all my knowledge, but they've far succumbed to what I could do. So it just shows leverage is just so important. We wouldn't be where we are without our team. Our team are fantastic, and that's because of leverage. It's the only way to scale, because you can't. There's only some. This is what people don't realize, that time is more of a valuable resource than money. You can always earn more money. You can't get more time, right? So you need to be precious with it.
Yeah, no, I'm smiling like a Cheshire cat for podcast listeners, because it is absolutely true. And there will always come a point in, when you're getting started in property, maybe you've been doing this for years, there's always going to come a point where you, one way or another, you're going to get this light bulb moment, and you have to push yourself. We've done the same with our office guy. I mean, he's absolutely fantastic. He's got many skills that certainly I haven't got. He's way more organized, and the list can go on and on, because he's dealing with, I say X, Y, and Z, he's probably dealing with the whole alphabet. It's great because it frees up our time, my business partner's time, Aaron, frees up our time to go out and do other, record these podcasts, get value from sharing content, or speak to, the list goes on. But there will be a point where people will realize that they need to change their mental approach, and it's not always a case of how much can I save. You have to, as you quite rightly said, you've got to look at that time aspect, otherwise you're just shooting yourself in the foot.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more.
Well, probably on that happy note, a keynote, I say happy note, it's a keynote, and there's plenty of content really for people to go away and take action on. Do you have any parting thoughts, any other top tips for people getting started that you want to share with the listeners?
Top tips
that you might not have already covered, thinking about it, because you've obviously covered quite a lot.
In terms of just getting started in property?
Yeah, I would guess so. Let's just say you're sitting on the fence, someone's thinking about, I've got X in the bank, or I haven't got X in the bank, but I want to try and build a portfolio, but they're fearful or whatever reason. Because it's a good time, it's always a good time to buy property. But let's just say someone's sitting on the fence, they're not sure what they want to do. You've got to go in there and give them the proverbial kick up the arse. What would you say to them?
There's two routes you could go down. You could set up a call with a company like ourselves and have someone guide you and help you get where you need to be. Or if you wanted to, take it into your own hands and do something, yourself, and you want to take some risk, you could set up something while you're working, and like we did, and go and take the plunge. But I would say, no matter what you're doing, you need to be building your network. So whether you love your job and you just want a company to build your portfolio on the sidelines while you're working because you enjoy, because some people do enjoy their jobs, right? It's not everyone that wants to leave their job and quit. I would say still attend networking events, be part with, again, I've taken a WhatsApp group, be a part of a WhatsApp group, be a part of a culture, be a part of a network, build friends. You are who you hang around with. Surround yourself with these kind of people, and you'll notice opportunities come your way. And you'll also probably subconsciously learn from people and get habits and ways of working that might be able to assist you. That kind of, like we just discussed, that mindset of higher income tasks and focus and focusing on the right things rather than the wrong things. So that's what I would say. I mean, we do like a loan and learn for people that have 20 grand, for example, in the bank, and it's not enough to get properly started, or 15 grand in the bank, for example, that's not enough to get properly started in property. And we give a percentage return. So instead of like a course charging money, we'll give you a percentage return and teach you. So we kind of plug you into our company ethos, and we will send you surveys and of all the properties that we're doing, and we'll give you we'll go through them with you, and we'll bring you on site. We'll bring you to meet the team and stuff like that. So there's all sorts out there, and there's loads of other companies that do that as well. There's just lots out there. I think it's just getting your foot in the door and just getting experience. I mean, someone asked me, they said the other day, actually, they said they didn't have any money and they want to get started in property. And they said, what's the best thing to do? And I said, work for free. Just message people and just give value and work for free. You get experience. That person or company gets free kind of labor, essentially, or free assistance on some projects, and you just get to learn, and it's a fair exchange. And I think that's what I would do. Even if I didn't have any money, I'd be working with people on stuff and doing viewings for free, and checking in on site for people and doing all sorts of stuff, because I think it's the best way to learn, through people. Theory-based things, courses and stuff. I mean, I've done courses myself and I think they're great, but there's got to be an element of physical experience in my opinion. Whether that's going on site, visiting people's projects, or someone showing you around their new development before and after, and asking them questions. It elicits so much knowledge that you wouldn't get on a theory-based kind of course. So I would definitely say do that as much as you possibly can. Again,
couldn't agree more. You've got to get yourself out there, and in terms of value, you'll get back what you put in. Really, that's how that works. Daniel, I mean, we said it'd be a bonanza episode, so absolutely, it has definitely been packed full of fantastic content. Really, thank you for taking time out to appear on the show and add value as you have done. The final question would be, if people want to get hold of yourself or find out more about KOVE Properties, how do they do that?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, KOVE Properties. We've got KOVE Property Meet, which is a monthly meetup. So as I was saying, if you want to be part of a really good network, and we're all friends essentially, and we all help each other, you can join that. We've also got a hands-free investing community, which we've just got over 1,000 members now, and that's all based on people wanting to leverage and build their portfolio hands-free. So we've got that group as well on Facebook. We're also on Instagram at KOVE Properties, and just send us a message. I'll be happy to have a chat with you.
Fantastic stuff. Well, as usual, all of the links and so forth will be in the show notes, so go and check them out there. Daniel, awesome stuff. Really enjoyed that, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.